Spotify says you're going to need 1,000 streams per track per year in order to be fully monetized for royalties. Is it going to be fair to artists? We're going to talk about that today. And also, we're talking about Christian rapper D1 calling out Rick Ross, Meek Mill, and Jim Jones. Is it clout chasing, or is it really guys should be doing better music at their age? Let's talk about it.
Arkatech Beatz.
What's up, everybody? It's Arkatech Beatz Music Business Podcast. We are your hosts, platinum producers, Arkatech Beatz. I'm Juggernaut.
I am Mike Trauma D.
And together we made the super duper group, Arkatech Beatz. If it's your first time here, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And today we're going to try to get into some different things going on. You know, we're back on the Spotify crap again. Spotify basically released the information telling us that you need 1,000 streams per song per year in order to get monetization. And we just wanted to talk about that. And then we also wanted to talk about the recent controversy with, Christian rapper D1 and, some of the other rappers just basically calling them out, saying that their content is really kind of being destructive to the community. We've been saying that for some time. Is he right, or is he really just clout chasing? We're going to get into it. So, Mike, Spotify, 1,000 streams per song per year in order for you to be fully monetized. And we did the math. If you're basing it on a 0.003, if you're doing it on that, which is the royalty rate per 1,000 streams, that's basically equates to about $3.
So it's about $3. An artist normally would make $3 off of 1,000 streams on Spotify, right. roughly.
Pretty much. So
per song. So then, I can't help asking. So if you stream $2,
what happens to the money?
Yeah, per song. Let's say you have 10, 20, 30, 50 songs, all streaming about 900 streams. So what happens to all that money? Because that does add up. If you have 50 records, all doing about 800 to 900 streams, that means they're all making around maybe $2, roughly around there. What happens to that money? So they're not entitled to it because it doesn't meet the threshold. And then on top of that, where does it stop? Because if they're allowed to do this, then, what happens in another year from now where, let's do 5,000 streams you need, 10,000 streams you need. What happens then? A lot of times, just even like the government, they like to implement these little things to see what's the public reaction. And if nothing really happens, or if the outcry doesn't regard, have any serious backlash to them, they use that as a template to move forward. So what happens when everybody's like, okay, we'll whatever you want. Then in another year or two, is 5,000 streams you're gonna need.
10,000.
Yeah, I think Jug, this is your money. It's your money, regardless. I don't care if it's 1 stream or 2 streams. I don't care if it's 5 streams or 1,000 streams. That's still your money, regardless. And you should be paid on your money. For a business to hold your money because it doesn't meet their threshold, but that's my threshold. It's crazy, man. That's
it's one, it's crazy, and two, it's like, like how you would normally have the publisher would normally go in and negotiate things on behalf of the artist, so forth and so on. And nobody's saying nothing. Nobody's saying a thing. It's like, okay, the Spotify just do whatever they want. So what I would say to artists right now, what a lot of folks are doing is that they're going to start taking their music off these platforms. And there are alternatives. I don't know if people really are aware of that. I think this is the time now where Jay's title can make a major play, by putting out something to kind of entice artists to come that way for royalties. If they're smart, that would be the best way to do it, to position themselves. You also had the crypto-based one, Audius, that was basically paying people in Audius tokens to listen and pay the artist. So it was a model where the listener can get paid for listening, and the artist gets paid for, the people listening. So you kind of create a two-tier system where, you get paid for consumption as well as, creation. But in this situation, man, like we hate Spotify for what they're doing right now with this, because like you said, there's going to be a lot of artists that will fall right below the threshold that have hundreds of songs up. Like for us personally, we have close to 200 songs on Spotify. Like, you know what I mean? Now, yeah, we might be able to do those numbers, but most people aren't going to be able to do those numbers.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, if you're not going to do those numbers, if you got 100 songs and you need to do 1,000 plays, right? You can do the math. Right.
You've already paid for your distribution service.
Right.
You already came out of pocket. Like, you got to think about it, man. You've already, between your what you paid, including your time in creating these records, creating the artwork, going to the studio, or maybe leasing the beat or buying out the beat, or all of these things that you paid for before you even put it on the streaming service. Then you got to pay the streaming service whatever their fee is, And then to be hit with something like this where you're not going to be reciprocated after, if it's under that 1,000, it's just loose, man. And I think we're in a time right now, and I've seen a few artists starting to do this, independent artists starting to do this, but I'm thinking that we need to utilize the streaming services as only a avenue to get consumers to your own platform. So, for example, don't give streaming services full albums anymore.
Yeah.
Don't.
Yep.
Give them EPs and teasers.
Yep.
And if you want the album, you got to come to my website and buy it.
Yep. That's the play.
Do the promo with all the streaming services, because the streaming services do have the reach to get you worldwide, and you want people all over the world to have access to your music. So you put out EPs, and don't look for it as a way to get your income, because the streaming services are going to do whatever they want to do as far as they're going to tax you royalties. They're gonna take whatever they're gonna take. So already in your mind, look at it as, this is just promo. I'm gonna put out these 3 records or my singles via streaming services, and then use that platform to promote. Now come to my website to buy the album, to have access to the full video, to have access to clothing line, and to have access to all of these additional merch. That's the only way you're gonna be able to use them. But if you're using the streaming service as your sole, my whole album, and you're looking for income from that, I think it's going the other way.
That's right at this point. It's an antiquated model, and it falls back into what we've been saying over the last how many episodes, is to basically create your ecosystem, and then use your music as the teasers to get everybody into your ecosystem.
Right.
Like we've been saying this for forever, and we knew that this was going to come because it was really unsustainable when you look at it. It's like what it tells me is that they have no answer for streaming fraud. That's really what it tells me. It tells me that there's no answer for streaming fraud, and basically what's going to happen is that the little person is going to be paying the major artists for the streaming fraud that they commit.
Right.
Like, that's what it looks like to me. So basically, we're going to crush you guys and say everything that you do to promote your music is streaming fraud. We're going to raise the threshold so that you don't get paid. We're going to still run advertising on that. We're going to do all of those things and all of the income that your music generates. Because let's be honest, we're talking about if the average artist may have maybe what, two albums, right? Two, maybe 3 albums, Spotify. We're talking about maybe 30 songs, right? If we're talking about 30 songs, we're talking about 30,000 streams?
Yeah.
Right?
Give or take.
Give or take. 30,000 streams. Multiply that across millions of artists.
Wow.
Just multiply it by millions of artists. Like, multiply that by millions of artists that will not meet the threshold. Right? So when you take 30,000 streams times millions of artists, that turns into significant royalties that are not being earned. But they're still using your music in the free platform and other platforms to run advertising on.
Right.
Like, come on, people. Like, this is really crazy.
So it goes back to what I'm saying. Like, they're utilizing the music to get ads, to do advertising.
Yeah.
You got to do the same thing. You got to utilize your music and use the actual music as advertising to get them to your platform.
Your platform.
You know, that's the only way. You know, and you know, on another level, it's their platform. Yeah, they do what they want. It's their platform.
It's their platform, but it's your music. So there has to be some sort of give and take.
When you click subscribe, when you click on that terms and agreements, when you click on all these little things that allow you to actually have access, a lot of those things are removed. You click on terms and agreement, you're uploading your music to their site. There's certain things in that in the notes that tell you how things are gonna go. A lot of us don't read it. Honestly. A lot of people just want to get on the site, upload, terms and agreement, click. Or you get those emails, terms and agreements have been updated or has changed.
Right.
So the key thing is, and what we've all been saying is, you need to own your own situation, whether it's your masters, whatever it is, own your own situation. And when you own your own situation, you can do what you want. Now you're on their situation, on their platforms. They're going to do what the hell they want. Fair, unfair, otherwise. And that's just the name of the game. They're making millions and millions and millions of dollars. Who's doing the accounting? You know?
Like, right? Who's to say that you even didn't do 1,000 streams per song?
Right. Who's to say?
Who's to say? Like, that's really the real jug on top of this. It's like, who's to say?
Trusting them. You're trusting them to account for how much streams are valid and how much they're supposed to pay you. So you're going to them blindly, not knowing, and asking them, how much money do you owe me? And they get to say whatever number they want to say, and you have to take that. And if you say, well, I'm going to audit you and this and that, there's no system in order for them to order. Like, how do you know
what you forensically audit them? Like, you can't.
And then how do you know what's legit from what's not legit?
Right.
You know, Ruff's been saying this for quite a while.
Listen, the system has been rigged like this, and you can't be mad at it because, like you said, it's their system. They've taken the time to build that infrastructure, and we needed to follow suit. Like, we need to build that infrastructure and stop complaining about it. Like, build the infrastructure so that you can stop talking about how it's unfair. You know, what they've done now is they've made it to where their finger, not even their finger, their whole foot is on the scale. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're trying to push this thing to where it only benefits major artists or artists that are signed to major labels.
Right.
And this is the incubation method for those artists that are on major labels or connected to a major label if you're independent per se. So either way, you got to give a piece of your pie in order for you to make that to work. So in a nutshell, with Spotify and the money that they're going to be generating that they're not going to pay out to artists, listen, we know that everybody's going to be upset about that. And there's not much you can do at this point. You know, the only thing you can do really is pivot and try to change your business model. to where you're driving the traffic back to your website and not driving it to Spotify. Like you use your music because, you know, you need it to be. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if artists even went as far as to stop uploading the entire songs to Spotify.
I would say that would have hurt them more, honestly. I think the exposure, you need the exposure. I've noticed a few artists who do not upload their music to Spotify and, you know, certain streaming services. And what that does is the people overseas or the people in different cities or states or wherever, you punish them. Like, they don't get the opportunity to know who you are, you know, unless you got a strong grassroots campaign where you're actually visiting those towns, you know, and doing the old school street team method. You know, the streaming service has allowed people to be discovered. You know, it's allowed all of us to find out who's who and what's popping. And, you know, there's a lot of new music discovered on Spotify and all streaming services. So I would say to utilize them, but at a bare minimum. You know, maybe put out your singles only on the streaming services, or an EP only on streaming services, and work on getting the eyes on your music, getting people used to you, and have them, if they want the album, if they want, you know, a full-blown signed CD or whatever the case may be, merch, that's when they got to come to your website. That's when they got to put their information in, their email address, and that way you could actually have those relationships with the actual consumer one-on-one. And that's the only way you could build a real fan base, you know. Otherwise, if you're just sitting back relying on putting your whole album on these streaming services, it's like, what's left for the consumer to come to your website?
That's why I said, you know, similar to like if you were a person that didn't have Apple Music and you go and you listen to your artist, they're not playing you the full song, they play you the snippet. Yeah. So you subscribe. So that's what I'm thinking. That's my whole thing. Right. I was like, okay, maybe just instead of upload the whole song, upload the snippet. You know,
but I don't know if you're allowed to
as long as it's over a minute, it'll come as a stream. You know what I'm saying? So right. You kind of get the same benefit of it being a stream, but they don't get the entire song, and they got to go someplace else to get it. You know, that might be the play. You know what I'm saying?
They definitely, I can see Spotify identifying that and doing a workaround.
Listen, you might want to do a workaround, but you really are not supposed to be using people's music for nothing, bro. Like, I would honestly go that route. I would, if I'm a major artist, I would say, okay, you know what? How can I reduce what they're getting, right, to meet their threshold, and then to use that as the marketing tool to get people back to where I need them to get back to. Hey, you want to hear more of that? You got to go back to here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could do the 30 seconds or the 45-second song, and at the end of that, that's as it fades out. Hey, if you want to hear more, go to www.arkatechbeats.com, tag. And they'll be like, whoa, wait a minute. You guys are not giving us no choice. It's like you guys are trying to limit the money that we're making, and you're trying to change all your situations. And like, you know, why should we upload full songs to your situation if you're not going to pay us for it? Like, you know, to me, that's the workaround. Like, why upload to you a 4-minute song, a 5-minute song, a 6-minute song, if people are doing that? But like, why go through all that? Why go through all of that, and then, you know, then have to deal with the fact that you don't want to pay for it? But this, at the end of the day,
there's options. There's options, though.
There's options. Folks have to start figuring out what's it going to take to kind of move your music around and trying to figure out what that situation is going to be. And I really hate to see, you know, how the independent artists are being squeezed. But listen, I'll say it and I continue to say it. When it comes to streaming and all the streaming protection and streaming fraud, they can't stop it, people. I'm trying to tell you, they can't stop it. The way that AI is going right now, they just released the new Chat GPT, the new chat situation this week. It can do all types of new things. It has larger token situations where you can put in more input. You know, it's learning. They've updated it. Its learning ability from, I think before it was tapped only up until September of, I think, 2021. Now it's up to April of 2023. So it has all that information from the internet up till now.
Wow. That's a lot.
Right. So it's a lot, and what you're looking at, and if you're using it on your mobile phone and stuff like that, if you listen to how it talks and so forth and so on, it's so human. You're not going to be able to know the difference. You're not going to be able to know the difference. And if you're telling me that these folks are not going to be able to program their programs using AI to emulate more human activity in terms of their streaming activity, when to press it, when not to press it, you're not going to know. You're not going to know the difference.
Yeah. And it's going so far into even artwork and one's likeness.
You're not going to know the difference. Like you said, AI generated content, you will not know the difference. And when you talk about that situation in terms of people selling their likenesses, I think we talked about that earlier with Meta buying Snoop and their likenesses and stuff like that.
Right.
You're not going to know the difference. You're going to be chatbots with people that you're going to think are the real people. It's not them. You're not going to know the difference. So you're trying to tell me, how are you going to know the difference between somebody's streaming behavior if you can't even tell the difference between somebody's likeness looking at their video? Come on, bro. Like, you guys have no answer for streaming fraud. The only way for you guys to kind of make sure that the labels continue to eat off of their streaming fraud that they perpetuate to make artists bigger is to make someone pay for it. And who else to pay for it is the independent artist. They have to pay for it.
Yep. They don't have the backing. They don't have the machine. Basically, it's set up as if you don't got backing, if you don't have the major machine behind you, then we're going to do whatever we want to you.
Yeah.
You don't have no support. You don't got no juice.
Or we can't share in your revenue.
Yeah.
So if we can't share in your revenue, we're going to take it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're going to take it. Like, if we can't share in the revenue that you're making, we're going to take it. Or or we're going to set these parameters that are impossible for you to make, and then take it. Take it from you.
And then on top of that, the partners that are the major labels and the artists signed to these labels, they're gonna go ahead and up their streams. The streaming farms, they're gonna fudge the numbers. They're gonna milk it and do whatever they have to do for those, because they're in the system. They have the quote unquote machine behind them. It's a dirty game, man.
I will go on record as saying 2024, with all of these restrictions that they're doing for these folks, all of the situation, all of the stuff that they're doing to take people's money for their music, the threshold, all of that. But Spotify is going to have a record year in profits come next year because of these changes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Record. It's going to break all types of records. You're going to see streaming records that you've never seen before, because now that they got somebody that they can use to pay for it, they're going to turn it up a notch. You're going to see streaming numbers you've never seen before. You're going to turn it up. And what they'll do is they'll put the boogeyman out there and say, hey, you don't want to fake your streams, you don't want this, you don't want to But the truth of the matter is, they really don't have any way of really knowing this or that. The only way that they can decide to do it is that, hey, is this person attached to a major? They're not? Okay. Streams might be fake.
Yeah. And the worst part is there are other companies that's involved in cahoots.
Yeah, because they're tied together.
Especially with the charts and the charts and the folks that said you are streaming these numbers. If they don't like the way the numbers are looking, valid or not, they don't like the way it looks, they will just remove it. These charts will just remove the numbers.
They'll invalidate it, right?
Yeah, they'll say, hold on, this is an independent artist, and he's streaming outside of the normal parameters or what they deem as normal, they may not even check your following. They may not check any of these other things. They say, you know what? This person I signed to a major, one of our partners, and he's doing these numbers. It's fake. We're gonna remove this. Just like that. And they've done it, and they've recently done it with an artist. Just remove it without the proof.
It's just crazy, man. It's a rigged system.
What they're trying to say is you do not have the protection. You don't have the protection of the major record label. If you want,
that almost sounds like a mafia thing, bro.
If you want the protection, if you don't want to get extorted, if you don't want to get got, you got to get down and sign with a major, and then you'll reap the benefits. You will get protection. You can go ahead and stream as much as you want with these streaming farms, and it will be protected.
You don't have to worry about your account being flagged.
Mm-hmm.
You don't got to worry about your royalties being stripped.
In our Suge Knight voice.
Right. Come on over to the majors. You don't got to worry about none of that. Yep. Listen, man, I'm hoping that everybody can really kind of understand what we're talking about, this Spotify situation, and learn really what we think you should do to pivot. And just to recap on that a little bit, we've been saying it from the jump. You use Spotify as a promotion mechanism for people to come to your main ecosystem, which would be your website. If you do not have a website, you're hustling backwards. We continue to say that. There has to be a place outside of these social media platforms, because Spotify is a social media platform now. Don't think that it's not, because you can get friends and followers and so forth and so on. So you need to make sure that you're taking yourself and putting yourself in your own ecosystem, because when the terms of service changes, when they make these model changes, you're at their mercy. So you have to set up your own ecosystem. Yes, there may be a cost to it, but my suggestion is to make sure that you're putting everything for people to get it at one central location, and keeping people away from these social media platforms for when they decide they want to change certain things.
Because when they decide to make these changes, they're not consulting you. They're not asking you for your opinion. Well, they're not asking you to vote. They're not asking you for anything. Mm-hmm. They're just telling you we're changing it. That's it.
It's crazy. Even in that, I think I seen a report that says that Instagram is supposed to bring back the Reels bonuses again, and supposed to add more bread for posting and different interactions. But I guess they're realizing that if you're not paying people to post the content, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. You got to pay people to post this content, because content creation is a full-time job. I don't think people may not want to give it a lot of credit for what it is, but posting every day, curating content, getting in front of the camera, setting up the lights, editing, all of that stuff, captions, yeah. Yeah,
it's full-time.
It's a full-time gig, man. People don't realize that. But I'm gonna pivot a little bit. Mm-hmm. I know we were talking about this in the beginning with the whole D1 and Rick Ross and Meek Mill and Jim Jones situation. And for those who don't know, D1, he's basically a more of a conscious Christian, just rapper. He's been on the scene for quite some time now. Look like he's been out here for maybe close to 10 years. Maybe a little bit more. But he's had some recent call outs for certain artists, basically saying that their content is harming the community, and I think that you and I have been talking about this vehemently for a long time, when we started to see the random killings of rappers and the robberies and everything that was playing itself out in the public eye over the last 5 years. And we were saying, hey, there's something negative going on here, and do we need to be a little bit more socially conscious? So he's called out Jim Jones, Rick Ross, Meek Mill. I guess the question is he doing what we're all thinking, or is it more of a clout chase? Is it a marketing scheme? Like, what can artists learn from the social construct of it, and then also, the marketing side of it? What can people learn from it?
I think it could be both. It could definitely be both. Meaning that, I mean, there's truth to what he's saying. There's definitely truth to what he's saying, and his posts, pretty much went quote unquote viral, because he's mentioning people's names, and the algorithms likes beef.
Oh, right.
It likes
Controversy.
it loves that, so it pushes that out there in hopes of creating issues, tensions, beef, so forth. But what he's saying, has some validity to it. Hip hop has, like you said, has got more violent, more promiscuous. Prostitution has been up at the forefront. It's just, I guess, as a person who grew up on hip hop and watched its progression and where it's gone and its influence, he hopes that a lot of the artists that we came up with and who's been successful and has reached a stage in their life where they no longer have to conform to what the record label wants or what society deems as correct or wants, that they could they're in a space where they can just now finally, as a mature artist, seasoned artist, can now speak on a level of, okay, let's not put out this type of music, or let's make sure that the music that we're putting out, we're a little bit more conscious of what we're doing. And I think he's talking on more on that level, that he wants more artists to put out music that's going to help the community versus add on to its downfall. And I get it. Music right now is just like, I struggle to find something decent to listen to. I've seen a post the other day where a 6-year-old is rapping about guns and throwing money, and it's just like, what? It's where have we become like this hip hop community? So I get it. I totally get his frustration. Calling people out like that, that may not be the right way to do it, but I do understand and I do get it.
I'm going to say call outs have consequences. This is the game, because I think you and I talked about influencer marketing with the whole Drake and Joe Budden situation, and we can't have an influence or a viral post change public perception, because it can change like that. It can change so quick that you can be hot as fish grease, but then once you get the right influencer to say, hey, that's not it, then everything can kind of just go to the wayside as quickly as you got it. But I agree with everything you just said. I feel like artists should evolve. I don't think that they're paying attention enough to Nas and and looking at his evolution and how he maintains relevancy by making sure that the content has a little bit of both, right? Has a little bit of social commentary with, a little bravado and some other stuff, but it's not, overtly, negative. Now, in their defense, for the artist, it's art, it's subjective. And I think that they need to lean on that a little bit more and say, this is my art, the way that I want to construct my art.
Right.
And it may not be for you. It may not be for so forth and so on. I get that too. On another level, what do they tell you when you're making content that works? Keep making it, right?
Keep making it. Yeah.
So they're not gonna
change the formula,
change course, or change formula. It's what's worked for them. It's what made them successful in the first place.
Right.
And you and I as fans of hip hop for such a long time, You know how we always hate, man, why did he make an album like, you know, he made Illmatic, why you not making another Illmatic? You know, they made this album, why you don't make another Enter the Wu-Tang? Like, why y'all changing up the formula? Why y'all? So here they go giving you the formula, not switching it up, and now we complaining about that too. So it's like, can you really win? Not really. You can't win. So you got to just do you and do your art. And granted, he's entitled to his opinion, you know, but you have to make sure, you have to be careful, because in this influencer space, your opinion can move markets. You know, that's what people have to realize and recognize. Like, and this is a new day where a person can put out news about anything, commodity, artist, anything, and it can change public perception, and it can change the way dollars and cents starts to flow in or out.
Right. It gets personal.
Yeah. So when you start talking about people's situation, remember that, you know, if it impacts them negatively, it can hurt their pockets. And if you hurt people's livelihood, then that's when things start to get a little bit more vicious. You know what I'm saying? That's why you see Jim Jones saying, you know, the little cousin might not like what you're saying, because
down the line it can hurt.
Yeah.
It could hurt things. It could hurt situations and opportunities. And if somebody says something that can hurt a potential deal on the table, you know, I would be very upset too.
Yeah, and that can happen too, because he can basically put that narrative out there that that's no longer it.
Right.
You know, that's no longer where the culture needs to be. You know, and is he trying to elevate himself in the process? Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not knocking that. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you know, cloud chasing has consequences. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't be out there, you know, calling people out has consequences. So this is the situation. So when you're talking about it, I think he's been respectful. I just don't think that these guys, you know, they may have wanted him to reach out to them behind the scene, but that to me, that's all trash.
At the same time, it's like, you know, you got to be mindful of when you're, you know, you speak of somebody's name. You know, once you do that, you subscribe to anything that comes along with that, because the person on the receiving end may not receive it the way you intend.
Yeah, sure.
You know, and at the same time, when you kind of, you know, telling somebody that you love them, but you also telling them that you could do better, it could be perceived that, yo, you trying to sun me? Like as a successful artist, all the things that I have done, put on families, put on communities, made this amount of money, did this or did that, and here this guy comes, no disrespect, but just from an artist perspective, who have done these things, like, who are you to tell me anything? And who are you to talk down to me in that manner? Like you sunning me, like you trying to tell me I'm not good enough, or I need to be better, or, you know, like, that could be taken really personal, and that could be taken to a whole nother level. So it's everyone doesn't take criticism the same. And when you start calling a person's name out like that, you know, you subscribe to anything, you know, that comes from that, you know.
It's the internet, bro. Like, that's the thing that I don't really seem to understand. Like, this is what we've done with the internet, right? We've given everybody a voice and an opinion.
Right.
Whether they're qualified to give it to you or not. This is what we've decided to do. This is what we gave everybody a platform, or we gave everybody a phone with a camera, and then gave us a place to post it. You've given everybody a goddamn voice. So what do you want? What do you want to happen? So now when people voice their opinion, now what we're going to do? We're going to check everybody. Hey, don't call my name. Don't say this. Don't say this. Don't say that.
Right.
I can't do that shit. You guys would have been better served not saying shit to that motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Because your platform is too large. And the minute you start talking about somebody, then we want to figure out who the fuck you talking about. And then we're going to go run back to their shit and blow their shit up.
Yeah.
So, you know, so listen, if you guys have never read Ryan Holiday's book, Trust Me, I'm Lying, right? It's The Secrets of the Media Manipulator. He talks about that. He says if you want a story to disappear, You got to make sure that you don't address it and don't repost, don't address, don't ever take what the trolls are doing and address them. Once you address the troll, you validate them.
Yep. Absolutely.
I'm giving y'all free jewels. Once you engage the troll, you validate them. Once you go back and forth in the comments, now this person that didn't have any followers, and all of a sudden has a whole bunch of followers in the platform.
Yeah.
So basically, these guys have injected life into this guy's career.
Yeah, it's just as good as Rick Ross doing a feature record with D1.
That's essentially what he's done. That's essentially what he's done. It's like, and now he's created this situation now. I've seen this guy on the media run all week.
Yeah. Congratulations.
You made it. You know, like, you know, and then now, you know, Jimmy, you know, said some things that people are deeming as bullying.
Right.
You know, people don't like that shit anymore. Like that shit is played out. Like you can't. Oh, listen, we come from that era of yo, you can't speak on certain people or else you're gonna have to have problems. That's the era that we come from. Mm-hmm. This era ain't about that. This era don't like it. You may still think that that works in this era. What they do is they low key they cancel you. The internet warriors will cancel you. All of a sudden you'll see your content not reaching where it would normally reach because the true keyboard warriors, they're gonna make sure that your joint gets suppressed.
And the funny thing is, there's no warning to that.
No,
there's no notice.
Because the keyboard warriors have found a way to fight the physical warrior. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So, you know, you would never say this to me in the street, right? Because you know you would have there would be a physical altercation. Right. That's not how these guys work. These guys are keyboard warriors. So they'll basically fight the other fight behind the keyboard by destroying you in the forums, killing you in other situations, and making you look like you're not hot. And then when they start giving their social commentary on TikTok and all these other situations and start making you look like you the bad guy, and they start giving out all those opinions that start, you know, they'll latch on to that content and keep reposting their commentary to it. And then all of a sudden now, you look like a terrorist.
And worse, if you comment and just so happen to trip up and say something that you shouldn't say.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, it's game.
You know what I'm saying? So then it's amplified.
That's why they always say, like a publicist will always say, don't respond. Don't respond. Don't say anything.
Don't say nothing. It's like, who? Who you talking about? Who? Nah, I don't. Next question. And Jimmy good for that. But Jimmy don't want to talk about something. He shut it down. I think he should have just shut it down. Like, don't talk about that. And now you've had that fuel to the fire. People, you know, mad now. I'm like, man, this is terrible, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's terrible. But bravo to D1.
Yeah.
You know, you guys are watching the masterclass in marketing again.
They want you to put out some music now.
Yeah. And remember, folks, there is people that say there's no reward in beef. There isn't. Because if you take the approach like how 50 Cent dude does it, he always goes at the brand when he wants to compete with a brand. So if it's Power, he can say, hey, Power's better than Empire. And then when you say Empire, then you got to say Power. What do you think about that? And then you get free marketing. Or if you say, hey, I got my my vodka versus Ciroc. You know what I'm saying? Same thing. It's I go at these people so that we can be mentioned in the same breath for the same products, and it's free marketing. It's very, 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 very smart. Those artists should have known that he was cloud chasing, regardless of his social commentary, and they shouldn't have given him a response, because now you've magnified his campaign. And now
now he could drop some music, and he'll have more listeners and more eyes on him.
He's getting it. You know what I'm saying? Because I had to listen to a few things that I would normally have not have listened to. Who is he? Right? I didn't know. You know what I mean? Like, and he's been around clearly. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I wasn't aware of it. So now everything that's old is new because he has a good body of work. So here we go. He's gonna see a surge. And because he has enough music out there, he's gonna see a surge. I think he has a good number of projects. He has at least.
Nah, he's been, know what? Not for nothing. D1's been out for a while. I've spoken to him via social media some years ago. On one of the, I think it was on Twitter. So he's dope. He's real dope, and like I applaud that guy, like musically.
A lot of records here, so I expect a surge. Game well played. Now, do I agree with him? To a degree, I do. Like in terms of the opinion,
yeah,
I feel like, hey, you guys are getting money. I think that there's a way to, like you said earlier, there's a way to combine what you did and what you're currently doing, and there's a way to still tell, the stories that can still be relevant to us, because we still want to know how you made it, how you're navigating it. What's the up, what's the down, what's the flip side to success? What's the flip side to it all?
right.
People still want to know the ins and outs of the situation, like, you know what I mean? So, to me, real life meets real music. I think that's probably better to do than keep talking about something that you did, 20 years ago. Because
Right.
now, because Ross been in the business now, what we thought we're rapidly approaching 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's something that I appreciate what actually Jeezy is doing, in his latest music, where he's talking about some of the trials and tribulations he's going through, and his growth and his ability to forgive people and to kind of move forward. So man, there's lessons on every stage and every lesson in every piece of growth in your life, and use that as the content, man. Like, we can't continue doing the same old. We gotta push this forward, this culture forward, and we gotta just show the next generation, the real deal of, where we at now, how we got here, what does it take, how do we keep it? Some of the trial and tribulation we have to go through on this level, dealing in these corporate offices, some of the snakes and some of the things you gotta deal with, some of the backdoor stuff that happens in corporate, or while you're doing your business, or while moving in life, as an adult, as a mature person with a family, children, so forth, dealing with this, dealing with that, and how to stay out the streets, and how to stay, but still stay relevant. Like, there's just so much content and so much things and subjects to go over that we all need. And we're not getting much of that. We keep getting the same old, shoot him, shoot that, this, that, and the third in the streets. It's just like, all right, you done said all of that. You done did that. We want to know where you at now, and get that information.
Again, we want to see growth.
Yeah.
And shout out to Jeezy, because what I see with him lately is a true pivot, and trying to move his career into another level. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, we know that you're the snowman, bro, but you can't. It has to evolve. And I think what you're seeing is grown men evolve to become better examples for their sons and their daughters. So again, I applaud it. Folks, it's the Arkatech Beatz Music Business Podcast. Make sure that you're following us at www.arkatechbeats.com. And of course, as always, as we always say, these episodes are brought to you by our books, right? The Songwriter's Guide to Song Registration, right? The Musician's Guide to Music Copyrights, the Musician's Guide to Music Publishing, and the Ultimate Guide to Forming a Music LLC. Those books are available at arkatechbeats.com. And if you want hard copies, Amazon as well.
Yeah.
Any parting words, subject matter, anything that you want to address?
I think one of the key things that always consistently pops in my head is the value of having your own forum, your own world. It allows you to be your own boss, call your own shots. And when you give the power to another platform to have all of your products and merchandise, you're left for that owner to do whatever they want with your products, and decide how much to pay you or if to pay you at all. Guys got to take advantage of just having your own situation and use everybody else to promote where you are versus the other way around. You promoting Spotify, you promoting YouTube, you promoting them. You got to get those forums to promote where you're going to be at.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. Like, I definitely want to make sure that artists realize that, man. Like, we can't keep saying it. Like, you gotta do your own situation. Like, it's too much power that you're giving to these folks, man. Like, it's just too much. Like, you have to have your own situation. And yeah, it costs a little bit more because everybody wants to use the free platforms. But, we have to make sure that we're getting it done the way it needs to work.
Yeah. If you could stream our beats, but you could come to our site and get them beats. You could come to our site and get what you need, get the products and everything. So, I think that's key, man, to really, you got to re-engineer our thinking and stop always running to these forums and and giving them your content. And what's the worst thing, Jug? Like, these platforms that you're giving your content to, you still got to pay them a monthly subscription. You're still paying them a subscription just to have it. If you're a Spotify user, you're still paying your monthly subscription. So not only are you paying a monthly subscription to listen to your own music, you're uploading and giving them the content as well, which is wild. So
Crazy, right?
But Doug, if you want to listen to any of our beats on Spotify, you got to have a subscription for the most sake. After you done just uploaded it, you want to listen to it, you got to have a subscription.
Yeah.
So it's wild.
It's crazy, right?
So that's it. That's all I got. Have your own forum, have your own setup, have the consumers come to your website, have your own merch, have everything available, collect those emails, get to know who your customer is so that you could create the content, create the merch for them, and do not hesitate to reach out to your customers, ask them for feedback, what you can do to make their experience a whole lot better. And, there you go.
You're the man, son. Folks, this is Arkatech Beatz Music Business Podcast. Make sure you're following us on all platforms, at Arkatech Beatz on all platforms. And look, this is a crazy business. Make sure that you're paying attention. Make sure that you're flexible. You're able to pivot when things are happening so that you can stay relevant and stay getting to the bag out here. But until next time, folks, I want everybody to stay safe out there.
Peace.
Peace on out. All right, now be easy.